watching. For those of you who aren't familiar, this is where we talk about things we've been watching. My name is Monica, and with me today I have Krystal and Noel. You guys want to say hi?
Hello.
Hey.
So we try to keep our things to 2 or under films because there are 3 of us, and that, with as much as we jibber jabber, that can go forever. So who wants to start?
I can start because it's going to be quick.
Okay.
Because I don't want to give away spoilers necessarily to these. My first film, we're just going to go in a circle, right? As
Sure.
far as films? Yes.
Circle, square, triangle, parallelogram.
Right, parallelogram. Just quickly, I watched Gerald's Game on Netflix. It's the Stephen King adaptation with a terrible cover, in my opinion. I mean, the splash image did not make me want to see it, and I thought it was on first appearance, it made me feel like it was a Lifetime movie or something. So,
Sorry, yeah, I got the same impression. I thought that's funny.
Right? I just glanced at it and I'm like, oh, what is that? Carla Gugino's in it, and that actor, what is his name? Bruce Greenwood.
Bruce Greenwood, yeah, I'm looking at the poster right now.
He is awesome. I've loved his movies for a while. I love Double Jeopardy. And he
snap! I didn't know he was in that.
He's always the husband. So he's like the fittest man, and he's in his 60s, so got crazy abs. So quick synopsis is just this married couple is going on a romantic weekend together to try to spark some passion back into their relationship. Gerald is trying to try new things in the bedroom, so he decides to handcuff his wife to the bedpost and just kind of wants to do something a little bit more like a fantasy in his head.
Spicy.
So the movie, and this happens fairly quickly, it turns out that he's rendered unable to do anything. And she's kind of stuck in these handcuffs for who knows how long, because there's nobody that knows that they're there. She can't reach her phone. She just basically can't escape. She's
chained up to like the bedpost.
Yeah, she's gonna be dehydrated. She's, it's basically just a one-on-one survival film.
Yeah, the inner monologue in that movie is like stellar. How they use, it's not really a literary device, but a visual device, motion divider, where you're like, because you always have like a million conversations going on in your head, but they visually show it in the movie, and I think that's really cool how they do it.
Yes. It's really interesting, her talking to herself, trying to figure her way out of this mess. There's also a little bit of spooky supernatural stuff where you're not sure if she's dreaming or not, hallucinating.
She's just going crazy because she's like alone on the bed for who knows how long.
And being like hungry and dehydrated and losing her mind. There's a dog that comes in that she feeds when they're on their way in, but the dog is maybe a predator.
Yeah, I like that dog part too.
It's a really surprisingly gruesome film, and I would say definitely worth a watch, although Stephen King kind of messes it up at the very end. But all in all, just to watch Carla Gugino, survive.
I love her. I think she's like one of the most beautiful women out there. I don't know what it is.
This is one of the only movies I've seen her be able to perform like this.
Yeah.
Anything else, she's always the girlfriend or the wife. Help, Rock.
Isn't she the trainer in uh, the music video Sucker Punch. Isn't she like their dance instructor or whatever? Yeah.
Yeah.
I almost called it Psycho's music video movie when I couldn't think of its name. The Psycho's music video movie.
Anyway, overall, I would recommend it to any horror fan. It's not going to be the best Stephen King adaptation by any means, but it's certainly worth a watch. And if you're not squeamish, give it a whirl because it is really gross.
Yeah, I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Was it made for TV?
It's a Netflix.
It's a
original.
Netflix production. Yeah. It was not released.
Netflix is crushing it right now.
Crushing it.
It was not released in the theaters, though.
I don't think so.
And it sticks to the book.
I haven't read the book.
Me either. So I'm going to say, yes, it does.
But that's it for my first one. Who next?
No, you want to go?
So I, have you guys seen that documentary Far From Hollywood? It's about Australian, what they call Ozploitation. Sort of all the genre movies made in Australia from like the late 60s to the 80s. But one of the films in that so it includes horror, they include Mad Max, they do a lot of end of the world movies, etc. But there's a horror movie from 1978 called Patrick. The short IMDb, a comatose hospital patient harasses and kills
God, I've seen this.
Through his powers of telekinesis to claim his private nurse as his own. It's so good. Okay, I'll try to be quick. It's good on so many levels. It's one thing I love about it. It's a workplace to a great extent. It's a hospital, and she's a new nurse, and the doctor who runs this little grungy hospital is ugly and yucky. I mean, he's just a creep. And then there's this Nurse Ratchet type who handles the nurses, and it's like, this is like, what's her name? Oh shoot, who's the actress I'm thinking of? It's Tilda Swinton to like the nth degree, hair pulled back. And then there's Patrick, and so there's like workplace drama. The performances go to cartoon, but they never quite make it there. And the doctor Patrick is comatose, and the doctor's doing experiments on him, and the Nurse Ratchet's really upset about it. So there's these power struggles, and the nurses are treated like shit. There's only 2 or 3 nurses. It is low budget, and it's a small hospital, more of a clinic, I guess. And the best performance I have seen, one of the greatest performances I have ever seen by Patrick, who doesn't move. I don't think he moves maybe until, the very end. He is lying on his bed. You may have seen this in the ads. His eyes are really, really big, and he never changes his face. And he's got the 70s curly blonde locks that young, cute guys in the 70s who were supposed to be really hot had, the kind of white fro and he's got these giant eyes, and he's holding them open as wide as possible through the whole movie without moving his head. And it is the most terrifying performance I have seen since I cannot remember when. I swear to God, you imagine that he is responding. He's hearing everything. He's hearing everything. And you imagine that he's changing his facial expression based on what's going on around him, but he's not actually. But the performance is so compelling, and his face is so expressive that it's just the most amazing thing. It's like the Kuleshov effect, where there's no expression on the person's face, but depending on how you edit it, you think that they're thinking about something. But a lot of this is about this actor. Like, he's got the most amazing face, and he knows how to be scary without moving his face. It's like what they do to what's his name, Alex, and the Clockwork Orange. They hold his eyes
the
open,
eyes.
but this guy's doing it with just himself. So it was really, it's so scary. And the young nurse, the lead actress, it's also like this really interesting feminist parable. I mean, she's in Candy Stripe. I mean, the nurses are treated like shit. They're young women. This is this is Australia. I think she's English, and she's like an outsider, and they're not treated well, and she's divorcing her husband, and then there's this boyfriend, I think, on the side, and then there's a doctor who's hitting on her. So a lot of it is about her love life and how she's negotiating it. And of course, Patrick, through his telekinesis, starts to feel possessive of her because she's been tasked with there has to be a nurse there all the time, even though he doesn't move, even though at any moment you think he's going to move and like kill somebody because of the actor's expression. So he starts to get jealous and possessive, and he communicates to her. She has to do typing while she's sitting there, and he starts inserting messages to her in her typing. It's so well done. It's amazing. My favorite thing.
That's cool.
So have you seen this, or do you remember it?
Actually,
Monica?
so when you said it, I have seen the remake. I did not know there was an older one.
Oh, do you know who's in the remake? Anybody?
Charles Dance. That's the reason why I watched it, was because I saw Charles Dance in a horror film, and I'm like, hell yeah.
Well, he must have been the head doctor.
Yeah, he was the head doctor.
Okay, all right. Oh, that's interesting. Do you remember who?
But I never saw this one, and I feel like this one's better because the one that I watched it's alright. Wasn't great, but I don't remember the typewriter thing at all, so I don't think that was in there.
Yeah, no, I didn't even know. I guess I didn't even know there was a remake. Although I should think, there's a remake of everything sometimes too. So
I think this was just like straight to video. I don't think it was like a big thing.
It sounds like it might be, even though with Charles Dance. And so there's this whole thing of, she's not a victim, and she's trying to figure out what to do with her love life and whether to stay with her husband and what to do about this doctor that's hitting on her. And none of the men are like purely evil. And in a way, you start to even Patrick, even though the first 5 minutes of the film is him killing his mother or his parents. It's been a little while since I've seen it, and it's clearly sexual jealousy. There's an Oedipal thing going on. So Patrick has issues with women, and he has issues with sex, so it makes sense that he's being possessive with this pretty nurse. She's the only one that treats him like he's actually can hear, and he's sentient and knows what's going on. But my favorite thing of all is we've talked about what we would do if we were in certain situations, and from horror movies. And I would like to think that if I was in like a haunted house, I would do what George, what's his name does in The Changeling, of like telling the ghost, what the hell do you want from me? Like, why?
Yeah.
George C. Scott in that. And this is similar in that she does what I would do. Like, he gets increasingly violent and she's getting really tired of it. He's obviously not going to kill her, and there's only so much he can do with his mind. And so towards the end, he's like throwing things. He's having a tantrum because she won't be his lover. And he's throwing things, and things are falling, and she's like, that's really impressive, Patrick. But you know what? I'm really tired of it. And I thought, that's totally what I would think hopefully I would do in a similar situation. It's like the first time in a horror movie that I've seen somebody do that, of like, yeah, I'm really, by that time, she's not, you're having a tantrum, you're being a child, and there's nothing I can do to help you. I'm not going to be your girlfriend. And, so there's comedy, but it's also really, really scary. And the performance is amazing. And everything about it is fantastic. And it's Australian, Patrick, 1978. And I can't recommend it more highly. So I think that gives you a good taste of the whole thing.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't even know there was an original. I mean, I liked the idea of the remake, but it was just okay. Like, I didn't love it, but I might have to go and watch this.
This manages to be funny, scary, and thoughtful and interesting, like all at the same time. It's really
Yeah,
well
the
done.
remake was just kind of thoughtful. It wasn't scary and it wasn't funny. It was just kind of thought-provoking. And I'm like, that's interesting and I like the idea, but it wasn't really that much fun to watch.
But it's always interesting to see, we've talked at great length about Rosemary's Baby. It's interesting to see that time, that place, 1978, Australia. What is a young nurse? How would a young woman be treated, or how are they seen?
Mm-hmm.
You can't trust the movie to be, tell you everything, but you do get a taste like what's, she's right at that age or that time in history where she doesn't have to do, she doesn't have to sacrifice herself for a marriage if it's not working, that she can have sex outside. You know what I mean? Like she's right in that area where what she does is actually really interesting because she has different options and she's not a victim. So it's all really good. And you will never get Patrick's face with the big eyes out of your head because it is just...
I'm looking at the movie cover right now and it's just staring at me.
Oh my God, it's incredible. So anyway, that's my main recommendation.
Oh, that's cool. I'll definitely have to check that out because, I did like the remake, but I didn't love it.
You'll love this, Monica.
I
think it's right up your alley.
That's cool.
I think.
Monica?
So I have 2 recommendations, and mine kind of work together in a similar theme. So the first one I'm going to talk about, both of them are actually from 2016 too, which is funny because they're very similar movies. The first one I want to talk about is called The Dark Song. It is directed and written by Liam Gavin, and it stars Steve Oram and Catherine Walker. And I'm going to read the IMDb description because my descriptions are stupid. Crystal knows my descriptions are just like, so these people had a cheeseburger and then the world ended. It's crazy. So, but the IMDb description is a determined young woman and a damaged occultist risk their lives and souls to perform a dangerous ritual that will grant them what they want. And the whole movie is just them prepping to get this ritual correct. And you trying to figure out, is it going to succeed? Is it going to fail? In this world, is magic real? Is it fake? And they're just going crazy, locked up in this house. But it's really good. The whole cast is just 2 people, and it's just them getting on each other's nerves, being in a house for 3 months together, and also driving each other crazy because they're trying to perfect this ritual. And then the end of the movie had a kind of semi-sweet ending that I thought was... The end of the movie is really what impressed me. I was just like, oh, okay. That's nice. That's nice.
So, it's a horror movie with a happy-ish ending, or...
Yeah.
Because there's so few of those.
Yeah, it's happy for one reason, and then if you think about it too hard, it's not that happy.
Right.
But yeah, it was kind of nice. It was it was a semi-sweet ending. It was kind of nice. It was more about the journey of one person than thinking about the consequences of their actions. But I really liked it. I was really impressed with it, especially because I watch a lot of shitty films. I just go on Netflix. Paul constantly is looking at me because I have Shudder, I have Netflix, I have Hulu, I have HBO, I have Amazon Prime, and I just will go down these rabbit holes. If he's like, "What are you watching?" I'm like, "I don't know. It was just in the horror genre," and I just clicked on it. I have no idea what I'm watching.
That's the way to find the gems.
I know. I sift through a whole lot of shit, and then I find something like this where I'm like, oh, that's really awesome. So I was impressed with it. That's the same way I found Low. I really love Low too.
Oh yeah, we'll at some point we'll talk about the musical or theatrical or what's the name of this? The Dark Song.
A Dark Song, yeah,
S-O-N-G.
and it's on Netflix. I watched it on Netflix.
It's not found footage, is it?
No, it's not. I know
like
I love found footage, but it's not.
Just what you described, it could be.
No, it's just it's just 2 people in a house. I think the whole movie takes place over 3 months, and it's just 3 months of them training to get this ritual correct.
Interesting.
And it's pretty cool. Yeah, it was good. I liked it. It was fun.
And what's the other one?
Oh, I thought we were gonna do 111.
Oh,
and then
well, I
111.
just thought because they're... Oh, yeah, we can do that.
Yeah, you presented it as I have two, and I was
Well,
like,
they are very similar, but I mean, if you want, I can do my other one.
Sure, why not?
Okay, so my other one is it's on Shudder. It's not on Netflix. I watched it on Shudder, and it is 2016 as well. It's called The Alchemist Cookbook, and again, IMDb. The description: suffering from delusions of fortune, a young hermit hides out in the forest, hoping to crack an ancient mystery, but pays a price for his mania. And so this is another one where this one is mostly just one person, the whole movie. And it is him over like a month or so again, trying to basically do the same thing. He's trying to perform a ritual, but he's doing it through alchemy instead of like a ritual. Like he's trying to, and the guy in the movie too is a little crazy. Like he's off, and partway through the movie, he lives in the woods as a hermit, but his like cousin brings him supplies from the store, and it's like partway through the movie, his cousin forgets his medication, which you aren't sure what medication that is, but without his medication, as you watch the movie, the guy goes crazier and crazier and crazier while he's trying to get this ritual correct. So it's kind of one of those where you're questioning, like, is this guy just going off the deep end crazy, or is he actually summoning shit? Both really good. I was thoroughly surprised by both of them. Again, because I sift through a lot of shitty films to find ones. And both of these are really good. And I watched them within like a day of each other too, which was, I was also surprised because they're so similar.
Huh.
But
Interesting.
this one, I would highly recommend this one. Like Dark Song is fun and it's good, but if you want to watch one, I would recommend Alchemist Cookbook.
And this
Although I do really like the ending of Dark Song, because one has a really happy ending. Alchemist Cookbook does not have a happy ending.
Now, are these like made for? Are these straight to DVD type of movies, or?
No, I don't know.
I mean, with small casts, I guess. I don't know.
I never heard of either of them.
Yeah.
One I stumbled on across Netflix, and the other one I stumbled on across Shudder. Alchemist Cookbook might have been a Shudder exclusive, because Shudder's starting to make their own movies too.
Oh, wow. Who isn't these days?
I know, but Shudder's like, I haven't been impressed with. I don't know if this one is one of those.
You have not been impressed with the ones they've been
with
making?
their original stuff, not the stuff I've seen so far.
Yeah.
But I haven't deep dived.
Don't they have
their
series? Aren't they doing a couple of series? Don't they have?
Yeah, I haven't watched any of their series. I've just watched a few of their movies, and I was just kind of like, oh, that's all right.
Maybe they're just getting things going. They have to attract the talent.
Yeah, they are still really, really new.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, I still love Shudder. I watch it. Mostly I love Shudder because they have something called like Shudder TV, and it's just like programming where you just turn it on and it just plays movies in the background, and I don't have to pick anything.
Non-stop
and
horror all day,
horror in the background.
24/7 horror.
But I find a lot of gems that way too.
Yeah, sure, of course, absolutely. Yeah.
It's a lot of old movies that they do on that Shudder TV,
which I would love, which is of course the thing I'm most interested in. I just wanted to say one thing. Patrick was directed by Richard Franklin, who has a really interesting career. And do you guys ever listen to the Directors Club podcast? What they do is they'll take one director and they'll do the earlier episodes. They only take a few of the director's films and talk about them, but the later episodes, they're now watching everything that director had directed and talk about their whole career. And they do it with this Richard Franklin guy, and they do talk about Patrick, and they have somebody, but he also directed Road Games, which is a thriller from the early 80s, also set in Australia, but with Jamie Lee Curtis, and it's like a horror film that she was in that's almost never mentioned because it's pretty obscure and it's Australia. And the lead is Oh my God, he's super famous, and we all know him. Anyway, the one thing good to listen to also about Patrick is that on the Directors Club podcast, when they talk about Patrick, they break the first 5 minutes down, like beat by beat, cut by cut, to show how brilliant the director is in how much storytelling he gets done with almost no language and just the use of the camera. This is all the setup for before Patrick ends up in a coma. So that's another really interesting thing to listen to or to think about or prove, if you needed it, that this director really knows what he's doing. And Road Games is really great too. So, and then he tried to break into Hollywood, and that didn't work so well. Blah 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 blah. But this Ozploitation stuff is really, really interesting. Particularly now that Mad Max has now taken seriously, it's become like a award-worthy. Anyway, I just want to throw that in. And you guys should listen to the Directors Club. It's really interesting.
Okay.
You had another one, Krystal?
Yeah, so this weekend, Monica and I got to see Guillermo del Toro's Shape of Water. It is a lovely movie. That's how I'll put it. It is so sensitive. Like, all of his filmmaking techniques kind of have come to this spot. And you can see how elegant his camera moves have gotten and how efficiently he can tell a story. With every scene is there's no fat in this. It's very tight, really wonderful. There's tons of stuff to dig through. I mean, it's a deconstruction of the nuclear family. It's also it's commentary on embracing differences. There's the basic plot is this mute girl she works nights. She's a cleaning lady, nights for this secret government facility that does tests and things. Her best friend and roommate is a gay guy, but this is all in the 50s, I want to say, in this lovely world that he's created, but it's still kind of racist and everybody's afraid of people who are a little bit different. But the best thing is, a white nuclear family who just wants, to eat Jell-O with their kids. That's like supposedly the most ideal situation for America. And what this movie is telling you is that all these wonderful differences are what make the world worth it.
Yeah, and in the movie you actually see that nuclear family, and they are not happy.
Yeah, they are just. It is a nightmare. It's a literal nightmare. What is represented. Michael Shannon is incredible in this.
Yeah.
Octavia Spencer, Doug Jones, and Sally Hawkins is the main girl who plays the mute. She's terrific, and also Richard Jenkins is amazing.
Which one's Richard Jenkins?
Her neighbor.
Oh, I love him.
Yeah, Richard Jenkins is really, really wonderful. I mean, there's this great scene where he keeps getting her to go to a diner with him so he can talk to this cute guy, and he orders pies, but the pies are terrible.
Yeah.
Open his refrigerator, and there's a ton of disgusting leftover pies that he doesn't eat. To him.
I'll eat it. There's no such thing as disgusting pie.
I don't know. Those pies do look pretty gross.
It looked pretty bad. It was like those old color food dyed key lime pies.
Yeah, I described it as I used to get this pistachio pudding from the 99-cent store that didn't require milk, which every pudding should require milk. That's what they look like.
Yeah, it was really, really gross. The creature is wonderful. Doug Jones is awesome, of course.
Is he the creature?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. And, the movie is just, it's a really, really nice, just parable about how to accept people with differences and how,
And just because you're different, that doesn't make you less.
Exactly. You're not incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
No matter what anyone says.
But it also had a lot of like fun themes that we were talking about afterwards, how like everything was green.
Yeah, everything was green in it.
Everybody was always talking about smells, and everyone was obsessed with smells, and I thought that was funny considering this was like a fish person.
It's a pretty...
But they never talked about it in regards to the fish person.
Right. I mean, it's a pretty sensual film all around.
Yeah, it sounds like he's trying.
Visually sumptuous, but you can taste things while you watch it. And I think, in my opinion, I think it's better. It's his best film since Pans. Is it better than Pans? I hesitate to say that, but
I don't think it's better than Pans, but I think I agree with you that it's best since.
Well, just for listeners, you mean Pan's Labyrinth, just in case there's somebody listening who doesn't know what you mean by pans.
She's talking about like the pots and pans that you cook with.
Because it's
the best thing since Pans.
Pan's Labyrinth is widely considered to be Del Toro's masterpiece. I think generally it's agreed.
His Spanish films basically are his masterpieces. This is definitely a film that is a culmination of a director's everything that he has acquired skill-wise is on screen.
We watched, because we went and saw it at the ArcLight, and they had like a little Q&A with Guillermo del Toro afterwards. Not live, it was like a recorded one. But it was still cool. And he said something that, like, I really liked that. Yeah, I know, he's like the cutest man in the world.
Like, so cute.
He makes, Krystal, what'd you say? He's like a directing Totoro or something? Yeah. But he said something that I really liked, and I'm like, it completely describes his filmmaking style and his films, that I'm probably going to like wildly misquote him, but he said, don't make movies that you need to make movies that need you to make them. Mm-hmm. And I was like, that perfectly sums up, because this movie needed him, and it couldn't have been done with anyone but him and been this beautiful.
Well, what's interesting, the interview I heard, it's amazing that this is all a spin-off of Creature from the Black Lagoon, which, is not the...
I know.
It's not the deepest film, but he said that when he was a little kid, he saw it as a love story, and, like, it really moved him, which is interesting.
The creature was, like, watching her.
Yeah, that he found it super... like it was one of his earliest memories of love or sensual, togetherness with somebody else, which is really interesting, because that you could find that in that movie, but that's not the first thing that comes, that's not, it's under the surface, but I guess as a kid he really picked up on that under the surface.
Didn't he say it was because it wasn't in, because he spoke Spanish and it was in like English, so he couldn't like hear what they were saying or something, and he was just going off of visuals?
There's not much of interest that they say in Creature of the Black Lagoon. You really don't need to know English, but...
Well, that's really interesting, because the movie does not, it does not shy away from sexuality.
Yeah, I mean, you can see that it's subterranean.
Oh, I forgot you can't see me, Krystal. I just did my hands. The cupping of the hands.
Did you do an obscene?
Yep, I did.
Sorry, we're being obscene. It's wonderful in kind of it's a little Genet. I was thinking,
we mentioned that afterwards.
Wait,
it's a bit
Genet?
Yeah, Jean-Pierre Genet.
Oh, Jean-Pierre Genet. Okay, yeah.
It has a very like Amélie feel to it.
Yeah, very like delicatessen is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Just kind of...
I think it's the whimsical. Like, that's just the way a lot of Genet's films are.
Yes, he has whimsy, and he also has, like, real sexuality.
Yeah.
In the mix. And he's not afraid to do it. But anyway, go and see it. All thumbs up from me.
I liked it.
Noel, what is yours?
I was just going to say one last thing. is Birth from 2004. Whether this is a horror movie or not, you can debate, but we're pretty broad with our genre definitions. And, I think they've changed over the years because I've been watching old films and there's serial killer films from the 30s, 40s, 50s that wouldn't have been called horror. They would have been thriller or crime, so this one is sort
I think anything that's like dark can be considered horror.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty much there with you. If it's horrifying, I feel like it's horror. But this is, it's almost uncategorizable. This is Jonathan Glazer's only made 3 movies. He made Sexy Beast, which is his take on the gangster genre. He made Under the Skin, which is his sci-fi movie, and then I wouldn't even know how to describe Birth, which he did in between, and it's from 2003, and I mean, it's 2004. A young boy attempts to convince a woman that he is her dead husband reborn. So you could say that it's a reincarnation narrative, and that fits in horror.
Or is it?
Or is it? I mean, everything is up for grabs in this movie, and it's with Nicole Kidman. And, I was thinking, Monica, when we were talking about, what's his name, Anthony Hopkins, like, we think he's good, but we're not always sure. It's not always clear what he's doing, but we're pretty sure it's good or that it's working. And that's how I feel about Nicole Kidman. It's like, well, it's like, I believe her, it's compelling, but I can't tell if it's any good or not. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not always sure what she's doing, and this is like that to all the way through. Like, I can't.
think she's.
What were you gonna say?
I think Nicole Kidman is like.
Yes, Krystal loves Nicole Kidman.
Like, just pure. What I had the perfect word when I was describing Big Little Lies because she's amazing in that.
I think there are certain roles that she just completely nails, and then other roles I could go with someone else or her.
I feel like she is.
I agree, yeah.
She plays the ultimate woman, like a woman that appears to have it together on the outside, who is fucking a mess on the inside.
Like Stoker, she did Stoker really well.
That's
She's so
interesting.
good.
She is.
Yeah.
Well, with Birth, though, first of all, I don't even know why it's called Birth, and it's a terrible title, and it doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't draw you in, and it doesn't tell you anything. And Glazer is a very eccentric filmmaker, obviously. I mean, Under the Skin, he spent 10 years in Under the Skin, and it's almost incomprehensible. So I don't know what exactly is going on in Glazer's head, let's put it that way. But this movie is so engrossing and so compelling and so creepy and so bizarre. And it's one of those few films where I literally had no idea what was going to happen. I had no idea how this thing was going to unfold. I didn't know what was going to happen at the end. It's so rare that you see a movie that is so its own thing or so different that you genuinely there's no way to predict. And when it's over, it doesn't feel arbitrary. It all fits. But so it's also one of these films where there are twists, where the twists explain things, but they actually open up a new world of horror. Do you know? Like the twist doesn't solve things. It like makes things uglier and messier. I don't know that I'm explaining that right. And of course, I don't want to get any more detail. But like, you wish that the twist didn't happen because it makes an already creepy, awful situation like worse when you find out, quote unquote, the truth. Now, Glazer's really smart, and if you're really smart and you really pay attention in the first third of the movie, you can figure out what's going on. But I only realized that until he's such a master. I mean, this thing is put together like a little, not a symphony, but like, anyway, it's got a musical quality to it, whatever it is. It got terrible reviews, and it's got an amazing.
Tell
what?
You could tell why. It's going to make everyone so uncomfortable.
It really creeps people out. And I was thinking that, I like movies, dark movies that I would consider horror movies or borderline horror movies about sex and sex going to places, you know, that you don't want it to go. And there's very few taboos left. And this film exploits one of those, but it does it in a really smart way where you are taken into it. And I love David Cronenberg's Crash. I think it's a masterpiece of people pushing sex to the limit of, I don't know, perversion or psychosis or, again, taking sex to a place you don't want it to go. And
that was the one I broke Paul on with Cronenberg films. He hasn't watched another Cronenberg since Crash.
You started with Crash? No, there's so many.
No, we watched a couple, and I was gonna show him all Cronenberg because he didn't know who Cronenberg. Like, he knew of Cronenberg, but he hadn't seen anything. So I was showing him a bunch of Cronenberg because that's one of my favorites. And I think I broke him with Crash. He hasn't seen another one since then.
A lot of people were broken by Crash, but I was thinking there's a handful of movies about sex that are super dark and that I love because they're true somehow. And don't get mad, and I'm sure people will not like this, but I feel like Eyes Wide Shut is a dark movie about sex made by somebody who's not really had it. It is so ignorant about sex and how sex works, and like he's never been to an orgy. He doesn't know what he's talking about. Like, he doesn't have a clue.
Right.
I know he's had sex at least twice. He has like 2 kids. But,
at least twice.
Yeah, at least twice. But
that's Tom Cruise. Is it his naivete or is it Tom Cruise's naivete? I mean, his character's naivete.
I don't think it's his character. That's a good question. I just, that film, I don't know. That film's very controversial, right? A lot of people love it. But as a movie about dark sex, it doesn't ring true to me. Let's just put it that way. Whereas with Birth, I was literally, like metaphorically gripping onto my armrest. Like, oh my God, you're not going, please don't go there. Please don't go there. It's really disturbing and uncomfortable and fantastic. It's authentic. It's real. Like, one thing you could say about Jonathan Glazer's film, you can't say they're not truthful. They're not real. That they're not coming from a very real, concrete place. This thing is so bizarre, Monica. I don't know how to describe it.
I've never seen this movie, but I have heard many, many things from Krystal about it, so I feel like I know all about it.
Oh my God!
Because after she watched it, she told me all about it.
I can't get it out of my head. It is so.
It was something that was just. I was too young, I think.
Yeah, this is like how many? 14 years ago.
Yeah, it was.
This was right as we started college.
It really gets under your skin, and so to speak. And she's very good, and it's got a great cast. Danny Houston, I have fallen in love with after 30 Days of Night. His vampire in 30 Days of Night, his lead vampire. Since then, I want to see everything he's done. He's super good in this. It's got Lauren Bacall. It's got Arliss Big People, and Anne Hesh as Peter Stormare. And I wish that Anne Hesh wasn't known for going nuts for a while because she's so good. And she has a monologue at the end of this movie that is so hair-raising and so disturbing and so masterfully done that it wouldn't work. There's so many things about this movie that shouldn't work. In the wrong hands, it would be unwatchable, or it would be disastrous, or it would be campy. And man, he really rides the edge on this thing. It is, I don't know. I think it's going to get a cult following, and it's going to become a thing because it's one of these. I just couldn't believe what I was seeing and how. I don't know, Krystal, help me out here. What else? How else can you describe it? I mean, it is borderline horror movie, I guess. Psychological thriller?
It's a psychological thriller for sure, especially with I can't even imagine what Nicole Kidman's character must be going through this entire time.
Why did they give her
And-
that eye makeup that makes her like? It's so weird. What was that? That was one thing I didn't understand.
Oh no, it was like, but it's kind of like I don't know. It's just like perverts.
It's perversion.
The ideal. It perverts maybe even the sanctity of marriage.
Oh, everything.
But it's just
Everything gets perverted. Family,
trust,
career, trust.
yourself. I mean, the whole time my stomach hurt while watching it.
Yeah, it's a real. So I would highly recommend it, and I don't know. I guess there are people either lot of mostly negative reactions that I've read in terms of reviews and in terms of audience reviews and stuff like that. But if you want to go to a dark, particularly sexual place, you're willing to let a movie take you like Cronenberg's Crash. You just that you're willing to kind of quote unquote go there. This movie goes there. Man, it was uncomfortable. And it's so rare to see something kind of you've never, like a movie that's actually goes somewhere that I can't think of any other movie that's gone to this place. I'm not sure, Krystal, if you can think of.
Not to this specific place, no.
I mean,
it's kind of, and it's also a kind of like a, like when you see something that's fun, like Freaky Friday. It's like the scariest version of that.
I was like, you think of the dark version of it?
That's right.
Like, what's the worst thing that could possibly happen?
Wait, what, Monica?
Like the worst thing that could possibly happen in that situation?
Exactly.
Aside from maybe like Hot Chick.
Wait, what's Hot Chick?
Well, yeah, maybe like Hot Chick.
Hot Chick.
There's like a voodoo curse in this, like,
Hot Chick becomes Rob Schneider.
Oh God, that is horrifying. Oh God.
It's amazing, but
that sounds amazing in a different way.
Yes.
Yeah, this is Freaky Friday in hell. Yeah, very disturbing. And then the more information you get, the more disturbing it becomes. That's the thing that really kicked my ass. It was like, there's no resolution. It's actually worse than you thought. You know what I mean? At least that's how I interpreted. And Anne Hesh just blew my socks off. I mean, she's really a small role, but she pulls off this monologue that well, yeah, it's really something. So, another film, for dark sex, I wouldn't recommend Eyes Wide Shut. I would recommend Crash. And also this film, I won't go into detail, but if you want really dark sex that goes there, check out The Adjuster by Adam McGoyan from about early 90s, late 80s, or like 90, 91. That's another film that takes sex to places that I've never seen any movie go and don't particularly want to see again, but I don't know, it really makes you think. It's how often do you see sex portrayed in a way that really makes you think about stuff? I don't know.
I mean, I gotta say, Nymphomaniac Volume 1.
Oh yeah, I haven't seen those.
Did that for me.
Yeah, that's a dark movie about sex.
Is really interesting, but Lars von Trier hates everyone, so there's no way you're gonna have a satisfying experience.
Right.
But Volume 1's nice.
Really? Okay, that's a good suggestion.
Because here's the thing, like the whole thing is about a nymphomaniac, but it's all of her own choice.
Yeah.
Nothing about the movie isn't about her choice, which is great. It's kind of sex positive in that way. It's Volume 2 that just messes everything up, but.
So I've heard.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's hard. One would wish that he would be as generous to his characters as Jonathan Glazer is, no matter how perverse or even David Cronenberg. He doesn't judge the people in Crash, even though they're very unhappy, demented, even psychotic people. But Cronenberg never judges his characters, no matter how twisted and sick they become, which is, I don't know,
That is a really nice observation about Cronenberg films that I hadn't thought about.
That's what makes directors like Von Trier and Michael Haneke. It's hard for me to take it seriously because everybody's being so harshly judged and punished that I just think, well, that's not really how life is, right? You know, it's you can't dismiss everything or everyone. You know, you can't. I don't know. At least, yeah. Just so I would recommend it, Monica. I'm dying to hear what you have to say about it.
I haven't seen it.
No,
Yeah,
no.
watch
I
it,
mean,
but-
I
but
want
yeah.
you to see it, and I'm dying to hear what you would have to.
I'll
What
put
you
it
will
on my
have to say
list.
about
I
it.
did just I did just watch Raw. One of the things you guys were telling me to
You
watch.
did.
What did you think?
Yeah.
Okay, wait.
Um,
We got to do an episode about it. I think we
Yeah,
should
we
hold
do.
that.
Totally.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
told that.
But can you just say thumbs up, thumbs down? Or is that simple? If you're making a
I'd
gesture.
say thumbs in the middle.
Okay, I'll be really interested to hear what you say about that. Watch Birth with Paul. I'd love to hear what he thinks.
Oh,
No,
poor
seriously,
Paul.
it goes down a lot easier than Crash,
What
at least at first.
was the movie I
So if
just
Paul doesn't
watched?
like tomatoes on his sandwich, he's not going to like Birth.
I just watched a
Wait,
movie
what?
again.
He doesn't like tomatoes on his sandwich.
I watched a movie. It's called Thou Wast Mild and Lovely.
Oh, yeah? Is it like the pretty thing that lives in the house?
Might as well be, but it's more sexually driven than the pretty thing that lives in the house. And
We
poor
should-
Paul, he had to watch it with me, or he wasn't really watching it with me, but because our computers are right beside each other, he pretty much had to watch it with me.
So he's not big on dark sex movies, is what you're saying.
It's not that he dislikes them. It's just not how he would want to spend his movie viewing time.
Yeah, I can see that. It's
'Cause
not
he
for
never
everybody.
even like with Neon Demon, while that's not what he would have went to go see, he didn't think he wasted his time on it.
Oh, okay. And now that's a dark sex movie, right? Kind of? I still haven't seen it.
It's a dark lust movie.
Why, I would... Yeah.
It's not
It's
really
like it's about like desire more than it is about sex.
an envy.
Yeah, envy and desire. Yeah. But like he didn't love that movie, but he didn't think it was a waste of a time, and he didn't hate it either. But Thou Wast Mild and Lovely, he was just like, "What are you watching? What is this? What is this?" It's like a weird sex cult movie, kind of. I think.
There we
I
go.
saw it. I'm not really sure what it was about.
We should do a sex and horror
We
episode.
should.
It was supposed to be a horror film, and I kept waiting for the horror, and then it was just like, oh, this person might have been raped. I'm like, what?
No, I would love to do an episode, and we can cut. I mean, we should do an episode about that where we all pick one.
Sex and horror.
Yeah.
Yeah. Got a few.
Really worthwhile discussion.
Yeah.
Monica, you want to close this out?
All right. So, yeah, our recommendations were Krystal, Shape of Water, and
Gerald's Game.
Gerald's Game. That's right. And Cole was Patrick. And, man, I lost
original.
my thing.
1978.
The original. Yes, not the old one. I was writing these all down on a Post-it note, and then I accidentally closed it. What was your other one?
Birth, yeah.
Birth. That's right.
2003.
This is what happens when I close my Post-it notes. Usually I know everything we're talking about. And then mine was Alchemist Cookbook and A Dark Song, both 2016.
2016. Never heard of it.
Yeah. Are your guys's? Can you watch them on Netflix or Amazon, or do you know?
Netflix and in theaters.
Oh yeah, Shape of Water's in theaters. I'm Netflix and Shudder.
What's in theaters? Is that another service?
No, Shape of Water. We went and saw it.
Oh. Right.
All right. Well, thanks for watching, and we'll be around again soon with either another What We've Been Watching or a more deep dive into one or two films. All right. Well, have a good night, y'all.
Thanks.